You were never designed to blend in with the crowd. You were meant to stand out, not through noise or bravado, but through quiet strength. Being a Sigma male isn't about being superior to everyone else. It's about being fundamentally different. You're wired to think more deeply, move more quietly, and live according to your own inner compass. You have no interest in leading the masses, nor in blindly following them. You walk your own path, set your own pace, and most importantly, you're driven by your own purpose. That alone makes you a rare breed in a world that thrives on noise, flashiness, and constant validation. But you? You seek peace over praise, growth over comfort, and authenticity over approval. Before we dive into the 11 uncomfortable Sigma traits, here's a challenge for you. Try to see how many of these traits truly reflect who you are. And in the end, let us know in the comments how many you related to. You might be surprised how clearly the pattern shows itself. You're not the kind of man who compromises his soul just to fit someone else's idea of success. You'd rather be misunderstood than wear a mask to be accepted. You walk away from the spotlight, not because it intimidates you, but because it distracts you from what truly matters. And that takes a kind of courage most people will never understand. These 11 uncomfortable traits we're about to unpack, they're not quirks you picked up at random. They're the fingerprints of your character. Behaviors that most men avoid because they're too wrapped up in needing praise, afraid of being alone, or too caught up in looking successful rather than becoming successful. You, however, are playing a different game. A longer one. A more meaningful one. You don't choose the hard path to prove anything to others. You take it because it's the only path that leads to something real. So if you've ever felt like you just didn't fit in, if you've questioned why shallow living leaves you restless, or wondered why you walk away from things others cling to, you're not broken. You're a Sigma male. And that's not just a label. It's a mindset, a philosophy, and a quiet kind of power that doesn't ask for permission to exist. Let's dive in. 1. They routinely tear down and rebuild their own identity. Most people find a version of themselves that feels safe and familiar, and they stay parked there forever. Same old beliefs, same routines, same jokes from 2009. But a Sigma male, he's not here for comfort. He's here for evolution. Real growth, the kind that actually transforms you, often feels like dismantling your own house just to rebuild it stronger. Sigma males don't cling to outdated versions of themselves. In fact, they outgrow them, sometimes without warning. Like shedding a skin, they'll wake up one day, glance in the mirror, and say, "This version of me? He's done." And just like that, they move on. No announcement, no grand rebranding, no social media post saying, "New chapter, new me." It's a raw process, one that demands self-honesty when no one's looking. It means admitting your mistakes, cringing at your past behaviors, and confronting the parts of yourself you'd rather avoid. And yet, for the Sigma male, this isn't a breakdown. It's a habit. They treat identity like software, constantly updating, fixing bugs, stripping away features that no longer serve them. 1 month, he's in business mode. The next, he's in full monk mode. No phone, no distractions, just silence, sweat, and pages turning. People around him may be confused by the shift, but he's not. He's simply rewriting the code. What makes it even more intense is how quietly he does it. No dramatic life collapse. No tear-filled confessions. Just silent demolition and a calm rebuild. Like a man tossing a match over his shoulder and walking away from the flames whistling. But don't confuse the calm with ease. This process is painful. Reinvention is uncomfortable. especially when no one's demanding it of you. But Sigma males don't wait for a crisis to force change. They self-initiate it, because to them, staying the same feels like a slow death. And for a Sigma male, that's far scarier than the discomfort of transformation. 2. They grind in silence without craving recognition. Some people need an audience just to begin. They won't lift a finger unless there's applause waiting at the finish line. But a Sigma male, he'll toil away for months or years without a single cheer. No spotlight, no followers, no one watching. Just him, his mission, and an obsessive dedication most won't ever understand. While others are busy chasing attention, Sigma males are deep in the trenches, learning, building, testing, failing, and doing it all over again. And here's the kicker. They're not doing it for the reveal. They're doing it because they love the process. They find joy in the craft itself, not the credit that might come with it. You won't see them bragging about what they're working on. They'll master an entire skill set without ever mentioning it. No humble brags. No, watch me grind energy. Just quiet, relentless focus. Because for them, external praise doesn't fuel them. Mastery does. Their work only comes to light when it's bulletproof. And by then, it speaks louder than any caption ever could. They believe in building in darkness so their results can shine without explanation. Working in obscurity isn't easy. It means pushing through doubt without anyone clapping you on the back. It means staying focused while others mock, question, or overlook you completely. But Sigma males don't fold under that pressure. They sharpen under it. Because when you're not addicted to applause, you're free to create without compromise. And when the results finally show up, people will assume it happened overnight. They'll say it was talent or luck. But the truth? It was forged in silence, carved through years of disciplined effort behind closed doors. Sigma males don't crave recognition. They chase excellence. And when it's time to roar, they won't need a mic. 3. They reject loyalty that isn't built on respect. To most people, loyalty is everything. But for the Sigma male, there's something even more important: respect. Loyalty that doesn't come from mutual respect? That's not loyalty. It's control dressed up in polite language. And Sigma males see through it instantly. If someone's loyalty is driven by guilt, fear, or manipulation, the Sigma male won't just distance himself. He'll walk away entirely. No second guessing. Maybe even metaphorically light a match behind him. Here's the raw truth. Plenty of people stay loyal for the wrong reasons. They stay out of fear, out of emotional debt, or because they've been guilted into believing they owe someone their loyalty. But Sigma males? They don't operate like that. If the connection isn't genuine, if it's not built on equal respect, they cut the cord, no matter how long the history or how deep the bond. He doesn't care about titles, time, or shared pasts. If you use guilt to keep him close or treat him like he owes you something, you'll be met with silence. And that silence isn't passive, it's powerful. This throws people off, especially those who expect loyalty to be automatic. They think quiet men are easy to control. But a Sigma male's silence doesn't come from weakness. It comes from observation. And once he sees the leash behind the smile, he walks away, clean, quick, and without regret. Because to a Sigma male, loyalty without respect is a prison cell. And he doesn't stay anywhere that chains his freedom. He's not looking for people who stay out of fear or habit. He wants people who choose to stay because they genuinely see him and value who he is. And if that's not there, he won't fight for their spot in his life. He'll simply vanish, not in anger, but out of principle. That's what real strength looks like. When he's done, he's just done. No need for dramatic exits, no explanations, no loud goodbyes. Just a calm, quiet no, and the sound of a door quietly closing behind him. And that's exactly what unsettles people the most. The Sigma male doesn't entertain nonsense, and he sure doesn't waste time negotiating with it. He's not the type to settle for "it's good enough," and he won't dilute his boundaries just to make others feel comfortable. He refuses to play along with the "at least you have something" mentality. If it clashes with his internal code, it's gone. No questions asked. That's precisely why he's seen as a threat in spaces built around obedience and uniformity. Whether it's an office, a friend group, a family dynamic, or any system that values silence over authenticity, he disrupts the script, like a blaring fire alarm going off in the middle of a quiet library, impossible to ignore. And here's the twist that catches people off guard. Deep down, they respect him for it. They might label him as stubborn, too intense, or emotionally unavailable. But that's really just a cover for what they're not saying. I wish I had the courage to do what he's doing. His standards? They're not walls meant to isolate. They're filters, designed to keep out the noise and let in only what truly matters. And yes, this path does lead to moments of loneliness. But for the Sigma male, solitude with self-respect will always outweigh companionship built on compromise. So if people call him difficult, let them. All it really means is he refused to shrink himself to fit into places that never deserved him to begin with. And that's a kind of power very few people will ever understand. Number 5. He invests in boring, unsexy discipline. Most people want instant gratification. They dream of the physique without the workouts, the money without the grind, the success without the struggle. But the Sigma male operates on an entirely different level. He pours himself into the parts of the process that most people avoid, the tedious, boring, unglamorous grind. The kind of discipline that gets zero applause, no attention, and absolutely no likes on social media, but is brutally effective. While the world chases fleeting motivation like it's some magic potion, the Sigma male transforms himself into a quiet machine. He shows up even when it's hard, especially when no one else would. He repeats the same exhausting routine day after day, not because he's inspired, but because he's committed. He's not chasing dopamine spikes. He's chasing evolution. It's not flashy to rise before the sun, to study in silence, to train when no one's watching, to work without acknowledgement. Most people can't stomach that rhythm. It's too slow, too hard, too lonely. But for the Sigma, that's where growth lives. In the repetition, in the silence, in the uncelebrated victories. He doesn't care about shortcuts, hacks, or quick wins. His world is built on raw effort, laser focus, and an almost unshakable mental fortitude that most will never develop. Because the Sigma male has internalized a difficult truth. Discipline is the core that everything else is built upon, and it's not meant to feel good. While others complain about boredom or burnout, the Sigma just keeps moving. He doesn't need a motivational playlist or a hype coach shouting affirmations. His routine is his motivation. That's what makes him so quietly formidable. He builds momentum through consistent, disciplined action, even when nobody is watching. Over time, this steady grind becomes something untouchable. It sharpens his mind, strengthens his patience, and creates a kind of silent power that can't be faked or copied. People eventually ask how he became so good, yet they never saw the years of relentless reps that got him there. While the rest chase results, the Sigma marries the process. That's his secret. Number 6. He rejects mentorship from those he doesn't respect. Let's face it, these days, advice is everywhere. Everyone wants to play mentor, regardless of whether they've actually accomplished anything real. But the Sigma male doesn't fall for the smoke and mirrors. He's not swayed by status, titles, or popularity. If he doesn't genuinely respect someone's mind, their character, or their work ethic, he's not taking their advice, plain and simple. And he won't fake it either. No fake smiles. No polite nodding while zoning out. If someone talks a big game, but their actions don't back it up, he can spot it from a mile away. You could be a CEO, a guru, or someone who just read one motivational book and now thinks they've unlocked the secrets of life. None of that impresses him. He's not being difficult. He just doesn't follow for the sake of following. He values substance over flash. If your advice is built on theory without experience, he'll pass. If you preach discipline, but can't even organize your own life, hard pass. The Sigma male seeks depth, not hype. He wants mentors who lead with integrity, who've lived through what they teach, and who offer something real, not just surface-level inspiration. And because of that, he often walks a longer, lonelier road, refusing to compromise his standards just to fit into someone's success mold. People sometimes see this and assume he's arrogant or hard to teach. But that's not it. He listens, carefully, but only to what carries truth and weight. If you've earned his respect, he'll absorb your wisdom like a sponge. But if you haven't, don't be surprised if he quietly fades out of the conversation altogether. For the Sigma male, mentorship has nothing to do with prestige. It's about authenticity. And if that's missing, he's out. Number 7. He values privacy more than praise. In a culture obsessed with visibility and applause, where people post every small win just to get a dopamine hit, the Sigma male chooses something else: privacy. And not just as a preference, but as a form of personal power. He doesn't crave the spotlight. In fact, too much praise makes him uneasy. While others curate highlight reels for attention, he's focused on building a life no one else has access to. He doesn't need the validation of others to stay disciplined or driven. What fuels him is freedom. And for a Sigma, that freedom begins where attention ends. Make no mistake, he's not hiding. He's just uninterested in putting his life on display for the sake of likes or commentary. His world is sacred. His goals, his struggles, his growth. That's not for public consumption. And because of that, he doesn't overshare. He doesn't seek external applause. He doesn't give others the power to define his journey. If he achieves something, you probably won't hear about it. One day, you'll just notice he's evolved, quietly. No parade, no speech, just progress, done in silence. People sometimes misinterpret this as arrogance or being antisocial, but that's far from the truth. The Sigma male simply refuses to tie his self-worth to outside approval. He's not performing for anyone. He's too busy living with purpose, moving in silence, and protecting his inner peace. And here's the irony. This quiet confidence, it ends up being more magnetic than all the noise. While everyone else screams, "Look at me," the Sigma whispers, "Watch what I do." And then he vanishes back into his own world, where the real work is done and where he truly thrives. Number 8. He doesn't compete with other men. In a world where masculinity often gets measured in titles, dominance, wealth, and noise, the Sigma male quietly opts out. He's not part of the ego-driven arms race where men constantly try to outdo one another. He sees that competition for what it truly is: background noise. He doesn't flex, he doesn't posture, and he doesn't care about being perceived as alpha. He's not in a contest. He's not chasing a throne. He's not trying to prove his worth in a room full of shouting egos. And that alone throws people off. You ever notice that one guy who's so calm, so quietly centered in himself, that the whole energy in the room shifts just by his presence? That's the Sigma. He's not in the room to compete, to posture, or to prove anything. And that's exactly what makes him dangerous, because his power isn't rooted in status, attention, or dominance. It comes from something far more threatening: self-mastery. He's not trying to outshine anyone. He just knows who he is. That's why when someone starts flexing, dropping names, or bragging about how hard they hustle, the Sigma doesn't flinch. He doesn't clap back, doesn't jump into the game. He just gives a slight nod, maybe a raised eyebrow, and moves on. Why? Because none of that noise moves him. And here's where it gets entertaining. The men obsessed with hierarchy, with alpha posturing and status games, they can't stand this. They don't know what to do with someone who simply refuses to participate. They'll test him, provoke him, try to lure him into the ego contest. And every time, he just stays still, detached, unbothered, like trying to start a fight with a shadow. His silence becomes a mirror, and it shows them everything they're trying to hide. To the Sigma male, strength isn't loud. It's not reactive. It's the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from constantly outgrowing his past self. So while the world is scrambling for first place in a game he never agreed to play, he's on a completely different path, one that's deeper, more meaningful, and entirely his own. Number 9, he sees friendships as conditional, not eternal. To the Sigma, friendships aren't these forever contracts bound by time and nostalgia. They're agreements with terms, values, and mutual energy. And when those things fade or shift, he doesn't drag it out. He doesn't fake the vibe. He just quietly exits. He's not being heartless. He's being precise. People evolve. Energies change. What once fueled him might now drain him. And while most people will cling to friendships out of guilt, fear, or comfort, the Sigma male does what many won't. He lets go. No drama. No guilt trip. Just closure through distance. He's not the ride or die type if the ride turns into emotional sabotage. History means nothing if the present is built on disrespect or misalignment. And if someone treats the connection like a one-way transaction, the Sigma won't confront or chase. He'll just vanish. Swift, silent, like a ghost with boundaries. And here's what really rattles people. Those who depend on blind loyalty get confused when the Sigma cuts them off without a scene. They'll assume it's coldness, when in reality, it's clarity. His loyalty ends exactly where his self-worth begins. No, we need to talk. No explanation text. If you're sending the third unanswered message, the answer's already been given. You just missed it. Because to the Sigma, time and energy are currency. And if you're not offering growth, mutual respect, or real presence, you're simply not worth the investment. So if you're still in his circle, appreciate it. Because once your contract expires, there are no second terms, no renegotiations. Just a man who knows when to walk and doesn't need to slam the door on the way out. Number 10, they prioritize impact over being liked. Let's get real. Being liked is one of the most overrated currencies in society. And the Sigma, especially the Sigma female, figured that out a long time ago. While the masses bend themselves into fake smiles and agreeable versions of themselves to be accepted, she's operating on a completely different level. She's not in the game to be sweet or digestible. She's here to be effective, to make an impact. Whether that shakes people up, ruffles feathers, or makes others uncomfortable doesn't concern her. She'd rather be respected than approved of. She'll say what needs to be said, even if it breaks the silence. She'll make hard calls, set firm boundaries, and refuse to shrink to make others feel at ease. Because real impact isn't always neat or friendly. Sometimes it's disruptive. Sometimes it's quiet strength that challenges everyone else's noise. People may not like her, but they'll never forget her. While others are chasing claps and compliments, she's collecting clarity, results, progress. The kind of quiet success that doesn't need to be screamed about, because it's felt the moment she walks in. Does it get lonely? Sometimes. But she'll take solitude with self-respect over crowds that only applaud her when she's playing nice. That's the Sigma code. Lickability fades. Impact. That's legacy. Number 11. They let others misunderstand them without explanation. See, the world, or more accurately, the system we live in doesn't just want to track where you are. It wants to track how you think. It needs to categorize you, box you in, label you, so it can predict you, feed you, and control you. But the Sigma male, he slips through those cracks. Even if his body stays in one place, his mind is always in motion. He doesn't settle into fixed ideologies, movements, or labels. His loyalty isn't to a belief system, it's to truth. And truth evolves. One day, he's studying ancient philosophy. The next day, he's learning a new trade. The next, he's in total silence, reflecting inward. And because his mind never stays still, the matrix, this control system, can't track him. Not intellectually, not emotionally, not spiritually. You can't map someone who refuses to be mentally domesticated. The system wants you to pick a side, wear a tag, fall into a pattern. But the Sigma doesn't fall for that. He can listen to ideas from both extremes without marrying either. He borrows perspectives without converting. He studies systems, but never serves them. And that's the real escape, not running away from the world, but refusing to be mentally anchored to it. His beliefs aren't hand-me-downs. They're earned, tested, evolved through solitude, not social approval. He's not just hard to follow. He's impossible to pin down. Being a Sigma male isn't about standing in the spotlight. It's about standing apart, intentionally. It's about walking into discomfort with open eyes, and choosing growth over comfort, truth over popularity, and inner alignment over external applause. Every time he walks away from something good enough, says no without over-explaining, or burns down his comfort zone to rebuild a better version of himself, he's doing what most avoid. He's choosing self-respect over ease. These so-called uncomfortable habits people point out, they're not flaws. They're not quirks. They're armor. Evidence that you refuse to shrink yourself just to make others feel at ease. Proof that you're not here to be liked. You're here to be powerful on your own terms. So if any of these traits feel familiar, even just a few, don't second-guess yourself. Take it as confirmation. You weren't built different by accident. You're building something real. Something rare, something that won't break under pressure. The world might misunderstand you. They might side-eye your silence. They might mislabel your distance. Let them. That noise isn't your concern. What matters is that you keep moving forward. Keep thinking for yourself. Keep doing the inner work, the quiet, gritty, lonely work that most people avoid at all costs. Because this path, the Sigma path, it's not for the ones chasing applause. It's for the ones brave enough to walk alone and still stay true to themselves. You're not just existing. You're shaping your reality. Every time you set a boundary, every time you choose solitude over shallow company, every moment you stay grounded in who you are, you move closer to the version of yourself that nothing and no one can shake. You are a force. Quiet, steady, unstoppable. So if this spoke to something deep in you, do yourself a favor, like, share, and subscribe to Epic Persona for more content built for men who don't follow the crowd because they were never meant to. And ask yourself this: is your weirdness actually your greatest form of strength?